Hello and welcome to Come With Us, a podcast to meet all your fantasy needs. I'm Susie Nunez.
And I'm Reshea Riebenstorff, and we're here to dive into the tempting world of books, seductive romance, and a sprinkle of spice.
Disclaimer-ish, we have an episode 0, and in that episode, if you didn't listen to it, please go and listen because what are you doing, babes? Hello. Because we clearly stated that we're going to be spoiling these books. We want to be open to talk about everything that is happening, but we're not going to spoil the other books. For right now, we're doing chapter 1 to 28. We are assuming that you know, or if you don't want to know and you just want to know our opinions, this is the podcast for you, but have that in mind.
Here's my hot take. In terms of characters, okay. Fair, I'm conflicted hero. I like her and I think that she's great main character. There was just a couple moments where I'm like, you're just being dumb. You're making dumb choices.
To me, it makes sense how she feels because she can be a little bit annoying. This Farrah lady, ma'am, girl, she can be a little bit annoying. And her actions sometimes are stupid. But at the same time, I remember when I was 19, 20, 22, and I would be doing stupid things the whole day. So it makes sense.
Oh, yeah. A 19-year-old already knows everything and already has all the answers. So they're fully confident with only half the knowledge necessary.
And we have to add to the fact that she's basically an orphan, one. Second, she's in this really weird world when you think that they're your enemies and stuff. So it makes sense that she's making bad choices. So I get it. And we're live.
Oh, we're live.
We're live. We're recording.
It's our
first
episode.
I know. Dude, guys, if you see me smiling like crazy, it's because I'm so excited. We've been working on this for a little bit long time, and I think yes, I'm really excited, to be honest with you. So if you see me giggling, it's because I am very happy.
I have been just a big ball of stress and excitement for weeks now. And
yeah,
it's a lot for people, but it's fine. It's fine for me.
We're doing this for you, babes. We're doing this for you, and I hope you like it because here we are, episode 1. Season 1, episode 1. Hello. We're doing this.
So we're talking about A Court of Thorns and Roses, which is the first book in a 4.5 book series.
And counting.
An incomplete series by Sarah J. Maas. It has taken Booktok by storm, Bookstagram by storm, thinking because everyone's like Booktok and then Bookstagram, and that group on Facebook has got to be Books to Book. Just I'm gonna make it a thing.
Book face, but but I have no idea actually. If you have any ideas of how to call the version of Booktok for Facebook, I would love to know because
it has to be BookBook.
That's so bad. That's literally so bad. Oh my god, I'm embarrassed right now. If he gets out there and it actually sticks, I mean, you did something. You did, but it's really bad. But you did something.
It's reminding me of Tumblr days. Were you ever on Tumblr before it got super? Okay. Do you remember Moon?
No.
You're gonna have to.
My Tumblr was Latino Tumblr though. No, not American Tumblr.
Not nerdy white kid Tumblr. Not
super
much. Hulock. Not the super Hulock fandom. That wasn't.
When I was on Tumblr, my era for Tumblr was very ratchet. If I see those pictures right now, I would be not embarrassed because hello, no regrets. But I would be a little bit.
You were in your favorite phase. That's fine.
I would say I was on my Nesta. On my very other type of you guys, I cannot speak about spoilers. Damn, this is gonna be difficult though.
It's gonna be hard. It's gonna be hard. It's gonna be long and hard.
So, and I couldn't because I'm a little bit. So this is actual blush. I'm blushing.
Yeah,
and that's gonna happen a lot. So I love our Tumblr eras, and I love that we were ratchet and that you were a nerd. But this podcast is about a book series that we got obsessed with, and we couldn't stop thinking about it. And Miss Ma'am Sarah J. Maas is just, who is Sarah J. Maas?
Oh, Sarah J. Maas is a writer that she was until ACOTAR. She was, well, I guess not ACOTAR, but like the whole universe, like Throne of Glass. So she wrote Throne of Glass and then ACOTAR and Crescent City fantasy series. But before that, she wrote a few like Catwoman comics. Yeah, but then I mean, she started writing Throne of Glass when she was like 19. So she has grown up as she's evolved as an author, and these books have evolved with her. And I think she
We
tapped
can definitely
into,
see it. We can
oh
definitely
yeah,
see.
I think she tapped into the need for women and women and men who grew up reading YA, who then were adults and didn't want to keep reading about virginal 17-year-olds who were saving the world.
Yes,
We
yes,
because
yes,
that's not relatable anymore. Like you want to be able to see yourself in the main character, and to do that,
totally.
they gotta be a little bit more worldly and realistic. And for a 30 year
Experienced.
old, yeah, for a 30-year-old, a virginal 17-year-old isn't gonna do it. So Sarah J. Maas like tapped into that, so that's how she blew up. Of the other fantasy novels that I've read of late that try to have a more experienced um, character who indulges in cussing and sex and drinking and things like that, and they don't do a fade to black and they like are explicit about it, the writing is not the same. The way
Hmm.
Sarah J. Maas writes is it's almost it just flows in my head the same way that I think in my head when I'm speaking to myself.
I was watching a YouTube video and the girl was saying, she feels grungy. She feels raw. She feels like she's gonna give it to you. And I'm saying that in the whole sexual matter. Like
All the
she feels
ways.
like, yes, she's like, yes, I'll give it to you. I like that. Sometimes I
Mhm.
do feel like she thinks we're a little bit not super smart, but that's okay. We will see. We'll talk about that
Yeah.
later.
Yeah.
But right
Yeah.
now, I do like the fact that the first book, I liked her writing, and I think it was essential for her to be a little bit, I don't want to say boring, but I do have to say I had to push through the first book in a way, because I
Mhm.
was like, I want the smut. Where is the smut? You know that TikTok audio that says like, I am chapter 50 whatever of your book and I have not seen a single pickle.
You had heard about it before, like somebody had told you what it was about ish.
The thing is that I've been reading since I can remember, to be honest with you. And that
Mhm.
book came out and it wasn't famous at all. But I was on Goodreads at the moment.
Mm.
Well, I am still. And at the moment, someone posted something about that book, someone that I knew. And she was
Mhm.
like, oh, the fantasy and blah, blah, blah. And I wasn't into fairies at the moment. And I read the first book, and I did have to say, like, the first time, it was boring to me. And I don't know how, because now, like this year, I read it and I was like, how? How were you done like that? This book is fascinating. And I don't know, maybe the age, maybe I
Well,
can relate more to Farah.
where were you living when you read it
At
the
the
first
moment, I
time?
was in Venezuela. Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and say that your life was just a bit more exciting. So you didn't need the escapism of fantasy.
You know what? You're totally right. You're totally
Mhm.
right. Because, and I was younger, so I had like other expectations and stuff like that. And yes, I do have to say, I've been reading smut since I was young, and I love it, and I will not change that, and I will repeat that. No regrets. The first time wasn't all the way, like, all heck yes to me. The second time, I devour the 5 books in less than 5 days
Yeah.
with notes
I
and
don't know
everything.
how I don't know how you did it in 5 days because I was reading pretty much all the time.
I
I
can tell you
didn't
how.
stop
I didn't
reading.
sleep.
Oh, yeah, I did sleep sometimes.
I
Like
didn't.
like
No regret.
I slept a little bit. That's where you caught up on me.
No
Yeah.
regrets.
When I read the book, so it had been out for a long time. I wasn't on Booktok or Bookstagram or BookBook, and
You cannot see me, but I'm like, oh my god, I'm embarrassed. Go
listen,
ahead.
I'm gonna make it happen. It's not gonna die like fetch. It's gonna happen. But I was uh totally oblivious to it. I'd been in my reading slump forever. And then it was because of the podcast that was doing a deep dive on it that I also already followed their network. They were doing for those of you out listening, it's called LPN Deep Dives, A Court of Thorns and Roses with Natty Jean and Jackie Zabrowski.
We love them. We love you, Jackie.
They were like, this is what we're going to be doing our deep dives on this year, because their last series was on Dune, and that didn't captivate me. And I feel like a bad person for saying that.
I read Dune, and I was like, why did I do this to myself?
We just isolated so many Dune bros. I know. But anyway.
Dunastics, I will call you that way. I don't know why. I just like it. Dunastics, babes. Nothing wrong with you. I just need action and a little bit of smut, like more smut than anything else.
But basically, like, I hadn't heard about it, and I'd been in a reading slump for like a decade. Like, I remember when I lived in Oklahoma, I read The Magicians by Lev Grossman, and that was before his other 2 books were out. And when the other 2 books came out, I got the whole box set, and I wanted to reread the first one. I couldn't even finish the first one. I like read half of it, and then I put it down for 6 months. I mean, you guys all know how a
reading slump
goes. Yeah. So it was bad. But I hit like this horrible part in my life. I was dealing with some really bad mental health issues, and
we see you.
We've been there. And I was like, you know what? I just got a Kindle. I've always been like no e-readers. I'm a physical book person. I need to be able to smell the pages.
I was a person until like 2 months ago.
Yeah, exactly. Right. And then I got the Kindle, and I was like, oh, it's so easy. I just push this button and it's all mine, and I don't have to leave the house, and I can still have this book, and I can read it right now.
It is a blessing, and it could be a curse, because oh my God.
It's perfect for my ADHD brain, because when I want to read a book, I'm like, oh, I could read a book right now if I picked it up, and I could get into it enough to, you know how you have to get a few chapters in before you're hooked?
Yeah.
That's fine if I can obtain the book at this very moment and start reading it. If I purchase the book and then I have to like wait for it to be delivered to me, who knows if when I get that book, I'll still be in the mood. I don't know.
I get it.
So yeah, so I downloaded the 5-book series. I was like, oh, I'll just do the first one. Nah, fuck it. I'll go all 5. And I downloaded them. And you were supposed to only read to chapter 19 for the first episode, read to chapter 31 for the second episode.
I'm sorry, but no.
Oh, I was totally going to do it, because at first I was like, okay. Well, I was trying to force myself to read again. I was like, if I'm in a slump, it's hard for me to finish a book. I can do a few chapters a week. That's fine. By their second episode, I was done. It took me like 12 days to read all of the books, and I felt couldn't put it down. I had to bribe myself to like clean the bathroom. I'd be like, okay, if you clean the bathroom real quick, then you can go back to reading. And I just try to like,
you're better than me. You're better than me, because I see you and I'm like, I don't know how you did it. I needed to know so bad what was happening.
I cleaned so fast. You have no idea.
I believe you.
But yeah, I didn't feel that boring slowness of the first book the first time I read it, because I just devoured it all so fast. The second time I read it, I was like, oh, not a whole lot happens between chapter 3 and chapter like 28. Chapter 3 happens, which is interesting, and then a whole lot of world building and background story. The first chapter got me because it was really interesting to just jump into a world, and she's in the middle of hunting, and you're not getting, you know how books start with like background, like it was 1940, but and it was just like, it's fucking cold and I'm in a tree. And you're
Let's
like,
talk about that for a second, though. Let's talk about that for a second, because I think that the first book being only through Feyre's eyes, through Feyre's POV, is so freaking magnificent. Like, you see everything through her eyes. And that, to me, the first time that I read it, I was like, this is boring. She's like, she has so much problems. Like, what the fuck? You're so young. You should be living your life. And then I read it the second time. Now, like, older, and I'm like, this is fascinating. We see her struggles. We see that she needs definitely therapy. Like, she babes, I will pay it. I will pay it for her. Really. I will pay for that therapy because she needs it. And everyone in that book, like the whole series, they all need therapists. But that's
Yeah.
another talk for another moment. But like Feyre, we see her struggles, we see like how her brain works, her like inner battle for everything, like every decision that she's going to make, she just has this inner battle, and she's always in survival mode, right? Even when
Mhm.
she's happy, she's in survival mode. And I think that the second time that I actually was mature enough to understand Farah, because that's important, I am understanding Farah now, not before, but now that I'm older, I'm like, oh my God, Farah, like I'm you in some ways, and I
Yeah.
see you, and we understand you. And that, I think Sarah J. Maas was a genius because that part, she just did it so well. If that
Yeah.
book was like through maybe sometimes Tamlin's or like Lucien or whatever, that
Or
would
even a
have been,
third person.
yeah, exactly, that would have been like okay, but not perfect as it is like through Farah's POV.
I really loved it because I had never read a book that was a first person point of view with a character that I could specifically relate to. Like I loved Harry Potter growing up, but I mean it was third person, but then on top of it being third person, the main character was a boy, which sure, great, but it's always less captivating to be like, "Oh, I'm such a Hermione who is like a secondary character." Like she's the inner circle, but it's Harry, right? It's named after him. So like she's
Yeah.
the friend of the star, you know? So I was immediately excited to read a book that was from the point of view of a woman. And then what I really loved was because it was first person and not third person, um, you and coupling that with how Sarah J. Maas writes, you kind of feel the feelings she's feeling as she's feeling them because she's explaining to you how something is making her feel. She's explaining to you how, oh, I should be scared right now. Why am I picking up this knife? Like when Tamlin bursts through the door and she instinctively goes for a weapon, and she's in her head like, why the fuck did I just grab a knife? Like, what am I gonna do? What's this knife gonna do? You know? Oh, so yeah, those wards around the door that dad paid for, yeah, those were definitely worthless. Oh, who told you it was worthless? So she had like a sarcastic moment of like, told you so. And it was so relatable. And then you kind of develop the feelings with her. So I like that because it kind of tricked you into maybe trusting characters.
You kind of like get a little bit of an idea of who Sarah J. Maas is and
Mhm.
why we love her books so much. She is a fantastic author on the fantasy world, I will say. Like, I have read so many fantasy books in very different genres of like fays or dragons or whatever. And
Mhm.
her writing is just mind blowing to me because it's very, very, very captivating. Now, diving into the actual book and like the whole story, because now we give you bits and pieces of like what is happening. But right now, we're actually diving into the book. This is the book cover. My book, I don't have it right now because my friend Nathalia, that she's gonna have some thingies on this episode.
Yeah, when I picked up this book, first of all, I thought it was going to be more Asian, Chinese, Japanese because
Yeah.
of the style of the art. Um because that's a pretty famous style of tattoo art. So that surprised me. But
Yeah.
yeah, so I looked at the cover, I was like, "Oh, I wonder how long it's going to take to figure out what that is." And what we get like first chapter, we find out exactly why the cover looks like that.
Yeah.
And so the first chapter, Feyre's trying to get food for her family. She's dead of winter. There's no deer to be seen. She's farther into the forest than she's ever gone. She's too close to the wall. She's heard rumors that from other hunters that, there's creatures and things like that. And she's just sitting there talking to herself like, yeah, if I saw a fairy, I'd fucking kill it. like, like they've been shitty to us, And then
Yeah.
She sees a deer and she's like, hell yeah, we're going to eat food for like a week. And just as she's about ready to knock her arrow, she sees glowing eyes behind it, and it's stalking this deer. And in her head, she's justifying it. You know, you do that thing where you're like, it can't be that thing, even though you really know the truth.
You're saying that she knew the wolf was a fae?
Yeah, because it was the size of a house. The thing was
Yeah.
humongous. Like, what do you mean? Oh, it's just he just has a really good protein supplement. What? No.
Yeah. It's interesting because for me, I know that she was like having this battle, this inner battle of, do I kill it? Do I not kill it? Is it a fae? Is it not a fae? If it is a fae, what can happen?
Mhm.
So she is having this inner battle of, do I kill this and we have food, or I don't kill it and we don't have food? I think it's very interesting because the whole book, if you see, her POV is always like that. She has two options. She either does a thing or she doesn't. And either way, she loses.
Either way,
So
she's fucked.
she's fucked either way. So I think since the beginning, we actually see how Farah's life is going to be in the whole
Yeah.
book. And
Yeah.
that to me is fascinating. But going back to the wolf, we later know that his name was Andras, and she kills it. And that is how everything happens with Tamlin.
Like the families in this book, I'm like, you guys all need therapy. Like, you need some spiritual healing, okay? You're all toxic as fuck.
So now let's talk about family dynamics, right? Why is she's the youngest of three siblings. She has two other sisters, Nesta and Elain, and her father, because her mom is freaking dead. And thank God. She was a bitch.
She's
Freaking dead. She's freaking dead, and thank God, because she actually was a bitch though. Like
Oh yeah,
I'm
no,
sorry,
she
but
was, and like
yeah.
probably a bit delusional towards the end of it.
Yeah, definitely. So we learned that Farah is out hunting. She didn't. We're not saying she goes to like freaking Target and gets nuggets. She's out hunting with an arrow and bow, for her family. But Reshea, why is Farah doing that?
Because her family is a bunch of deadbeats and trash, and if she didn't do it,
Period.
they'd all fucking die.
She is the man of the house in all
Yep.
of the ways.
And the woman of the house, she does everything.
She
Like,
does.
yeah, she like I took notes and
I want to read them all.
I love the way that characters develop. And I wrote these notes the second time around, but I believe at one point I have one that just says, yeah, right here. Just chop the fucking wood, Nesta, like what the actual fuck. Um
That, oh my God, I remember that so vividly because the second time that I read this book, Nesta, I had so much beef with Nesta. Like I
Mhm.
wanted to see her in person, and I know she will be taller than me because I'm 5'2", whatever, and I know Nesta is taller. But
Everybody's taller
whatever.
than you.
I whatever. And I will be like looking up because she's taller than me. I will be like, I will fight you. Farah didn't deserve that. You motherfucking bitch. I just wanted her to freaking chop the wood.
Yeah. Like, why is this so, and she did. She ended up doing it. Yeah, why do you shut your mouth and just do it? Took my time, swallowing the words I wanted to bark back at her. Older than me by 3 years, she somehow looked younger than I did, her golden cheeks always flushed with a delicate, vibrant pink. Can you make a pot of hot water and add wood to the fire? But even as I asked, I noticed the wood pile. There were only 5 logs left. I thought you were going to chop wood today. Nesta picked at her long, neat nails. I hate chopping wood. I always get splinters. She glanced up from beneath her dark lashes. Besides, Feyre, she said with a pout, you're so much better at it. It takes you half the time it takes me. Your hands are suited for it. They're already so rough. Please, I asked, calming my breathing, knowing an argument was the last thing I needed or wanted. Please get up at dawn to chop that wood. I unbuttoned the top of my tunic, or we'll be eating a cold breakfast. Her brows narrowed. I will do no such thing.
Just chop the freaking wood, Nesta. Like, she
Yeah.
just came back from the wood hunting, babes. I go to Trader Joe's and I come back and I'm exhausted. Imagine poor Farah.
Yeah. I mean, to be fair, I went to Trader Joe's with you that one time and that was exhausting.
I know. Have it
Oh yeah.
easy though. Like, we have it easy in this
True.
modern world because if I had to go out and hunt, I would die. First try. Not even going to hunting. Like I would die on the stairs going down
Okay,
of my house.
I'll take care of you, baby. It's fine. Before she even asks her to chop the wood, she's already aware that uh she has to skin it, like she has to clean the deer, she has to butcher it, she has
Yeah.
to cook it, she has to
She basically has to prep the animals so she can
yeah,
sell and cook and cure the meat so they can have like the whole,
yeah.
thing. We learned that Farah is 19-ish.
Mhm.
Elain is like 2021, and then Nesta is like 22, right? So Nesta is the oldest.
Yeah.
We learned that Nesta is described as this mean person. She is not nice to anyone, not even her favorite sister Elain. I understand that she adores Elain because we understand that Farah always is saying she adores Elain. She adores Elain. We get it,
She's
Farah.
protective of her.
But she's not even nice to Elain,
Mm-mm.
Nesta. She's not nice to anybody. And then we learned that Elain is the sweet sister, the one that is always like, she's a
She's
Pisces. Let's say that Elain is a Pisces.
I'm gonna say if Elaine was a character from a pop culture movie,
Hmm.
she's definitely the dumb blonde in Mean Girls who's like, my boobs can tell when it's raining.
Most definitely. Elaine is a total bimbo. And that's okay.
Mhm.
We love it. Heck yes. Good for her. We love you, Jackie.
Good
That's
for
it.
her.
But yeah, basically, we learned that Farah, it's Farah. I actually don't know how to describe Farah. She's like a neutral ground type of person. And then we have Elaine, the sweetest, and then we have Nesta, the meanest. And
Mhm.
her father, he is just gray. He is just there
He's so insignificant that Sarah J. Maas never gives him a name.
until this day, I think.
On 4.5 books. 4 books in a novella.
And to be honest with you, I love it that way because if I would known his name, I would be seeing like guys with that name. Like, you
Yeah,
know?
like his name's John, and then every John you meet, you're like, "Oh, you piece of shit."
You piece of shit. Exactly. Exactly. Farah is going to go out and sell the few, like, I think it's the fur, right?
Pelt, yeah.
Yeah, the pelt, yes. And she's going out and she's doing the business because she's a businesswoman. She's a business lady, as she should. She has to, I mean,
Mhm.
she's the man of the house. It makes sense.
Yeah. She goes and she sells this, pelt of this wolf that she acquired, and she sells it to a what's the word? An emissary? No,
A mercenary.
mercenary, thank you. She sells it to a mercenary who also is a woman, and I was so excited for that because Sarah J. Maas is giving a uh typically masculine strong role to a woman, and
Yeah.
this woman is a badass. She kind of reminds me of that woman who played in Mandalorian,
Mm.
kind of like buff and had like short black hair, and she gave Feyre like more money than it cost, and she just was like, be careful, and I'm paying it forward. Somebody did that for me once, and I
You know
was
what?
really excited for that character.
I was a little bit surprised that she didn't come back in the books. Like if you're
Oh
reading ACOTAR, if you read it, you like at the moment she just gives you this very strong energy and heck yes, and I'm like, oh my gosh, she's gonna be someone in the book. And I kept like while
yeah.
I was reading the other books, I was like, she's gonna come back. Someone is gonna say, oh my god, I'm excited, and then she never did.
Yeah. Oh my god, I was so mad because she was such a captivating character in less than a chapter.
I
She was for a
know,
chapter,
like a
and
few words.
yeah, she had this like, there's no bullshit. My life's been hard. I know how to handle these fairies. She's like, I've narrowly escaped, and she gave her all this really great advice. And she just seemed like she would have been beneficial in future books and future things that were happening that had to do with the human world. Where's
Totally.
this bitch at? Where'd she go? It's like,
I'm asking the same question.
bring her back.
It's something that if you read the book, I want to know what you think, babes.
I like that she's like unapologetically horny. You know what I mean? Like in the beginning when she's having sex with Isaac, like she's like, "Yep, I just need it. Like it's a release." Like, "Yes, you do, girl." So I really like the her life. Like she's like very feminist in her way of being by like being a huntress and everything. And I'm all pro women, pro feminism.
So we learn that Miss Ma'am Farah, it's a horny chick, and we love that
Mm-hmm.
because I don't know if you guys have read Ice Planet Barbarians, but they call it pleasure mates. Basically, Farah has, we call it in Espanol, a culito. Farah has like a piece of ass that she just sees him and they do the thing that they have to do. And I love the fact that I want to point this out. I love how Sarah J. Maas make Farah not a virgin.
Oh, yeah. Oh, absolutely. I wrote so many notes in my book when I was annotating it about how I was so relieved that she wasn't this thing to be saved and taken advantage of. And it always felt predatory to me when it was like this virginal woman. And then she meets this 500-year-old immortal being. And they're like, oh, she's like, I'm in love with him. And it's the best sex I've ever had. Fade to black. Cough, Twilight, cough.
Stop.
Oh, don't even. We will
I
fight to the
love,
death on this one.
I know, I love Thailand.
But like, it's just like, and then what, you're with that one person forever? I
The thing
married
is
I
that
married the first guy that I had sex with, and it was a poor choice, and we're divorced now.
TMI, but learn from her because she's right.
Don't do
Um, it's
it.
interesting because they give us those other books. They give us those like POVs, and it's like, babe, that's the only sex you know. It makes
Yeah,
sense.
yeah,
It makes sense that you think it's the best. But
yeah.
going back to Miss Manfera and her horniness, we know that she has this pleasure made. We love it. And when she sees other people in the book, maybe she does, maybe she doesn't. We don't know. We will have to keep reading. She actually kind of like knows. And I love that. I love that Sarah J. Maas gave us that because that to me, now that I read it as an older woman, I understand this. Okay, Farah actually understands her being horny, her being like having these feelings. And to me, that was chef kiss.
Mhm. Oh, yeah, like, it was really nice to not have to watch the main character go, "What's this feeling I'm feeling deep down inside?"
You know what they always say, like, oh my God, I have this burning feeling between my thighs. Babes, you're super horny. That's all that is.
Yeah.
Farah goes to the barn and she has a very sexy moment with Isaac.
A tussle.
Uh, they have what I think Farah says that it was okay sex. If I don't remember badly, like it was okay.
Yeah, she was like, "Yeah, I came."
Yeah, I mean, he didn't blow her mind or like shake his her world, but it was okay. She
Mhm.
had a release, and that's all that matters because that's what she needed at the moment, and that's great. So
Better
that
than some of
happens.
us.
Yeah, and then Isaac happens, and then they go back, and Nesta says this nasty comment about what was it like Isaac being engaged.
Yeah, oh, yeah, because Feyre was telling her not to marry that woodcutter's son. She was like, you're gonna marry a woodcutter's son? You wouldn't even chop the wood outside yesterday?" And then Nesta was like,
Period.
yeah, Nesta was like, "Yeah, well, I heard that your little fuck buddy's getting married." And Feyre, not jealous, not upset, she's like, "Yeah, I already heard, he told me." She's
I
like,
know. Like, can we talk for a minute about how like Farah understands this is my pleasure buddy. This is like my
yeah,
fuck boy. We are not in a relationship. I do not want to be his girlfriend. I don't want to be her wife, his wife. Like nothing. This is just an exchange of interactions and
yeah.
give us both pleasures, and that's it. And I love
It's a
that.
need. It's fulfilling a need, and then on top of it,
I love that.
she doesn't want a relationship. She's at this
No,
point, and I'm speaking hypothetically here, I don't relate at all. She is at the point in her life where she is tired of taking care of everybody else. The last thing she wants is a relationship.
exactly.
She's like, "Listen, I wanna marry my sisters off. I want my dad to just be chill, and I just wanna paint, 'cause Feyre
Oh,
paints."
oh my God, Farah paints.
Oh boy. Um, I was waiting for that moment with the painting where it was like, the painting's gonna mean something. Something's gonna come in with the painting. It's gonna be significant because she kept bringing it up.
Does not. It
There's
doesn't mean
no,
shit.
it was the most point. I think Sarah J. Maas just wanted to make a coloring book. Honey, you are in the middle of like a really scary moment right now. Are you thinking about what you're gonna paint? What?
For reals. And like, spoiler alert, her painting is not good, babes.
Well, I mean, we don't know for sure that
It's not, Reshea. It's not. Because the people that love her in the book cannot say that their painting is good. So I will say 100%. Feyre's paintings are not good. But that's besides the point right now because we're not getting there yet. So
but she just
while
doesn't want a relationship is all I was saying. She
yeah,
doesn't want the burden
and
of a
we love
relationship.
that. And I love the fact that she can separate. We're having sex, but we're nothing to each other.
Mhm.
And I love that. I think that's wow.
Yeah.
My friends are listening to this, babes. Learn from Feyre, please.
Right?
You don't have to catch
Yeah.
feelings.
Yeah, like sex can be appreciated on its own
Just
for what
that
it is.
sex. Yeah.
Here's my hot take. You know how the trope is that women catch feelings whenever they have sex? Oh, don't have a sex with her, she's gonna fall in love with you and then she's gonna get clingy.
Eh.
That is a lie made up by men to hide the fact that they're the ones catching feelings because they don't want to admit that they catch feelings first. Because I can't tell you how many times the men always catch feelings, and then you're like, oh, babes, no.
And I'm gonna say something that is gonna put an end to this, and that's in period. And Feyre is like, you do not marry this guy. Like you cannot. And the other one is like, I'll do whatever I want because this is my life, and we're poor, and I want a better life. And she wants a better life with someone that has like nothing, but whatever. That's not, besides the point. Again, like babes, he is poor. While we're talking about this, and they're like having a discussion or whatever, what happens?
Oh, the big bad wolf shows up. The beast from Beauty and the Beast blows the door down like an actual animal
Yes.
and then starts talking in human words, which is
Yes.
weird.
Imagine like a huge, like wolf,
Deer,
Murph with like
elk.
the beast from Beauty and the Beast, because I
Yeah.
think that's like. Oh, by the way, we didn't say this before, guys, but ACOTAR, like the first book, it's based or inspired by the Beauty and the Beast.
Yeah, it's almost like a Beauty and the Beast retelling. That's what I
Yeah,
imagined. I didn't
there
imagine
is.
him opening the door. I imagined him just bursting through it.
He did not open the door. He literally just all the way. Like he went rough and like feral. What does he say?
But there was a roar that half deafened me, and my sisters screamed as Snow burst into the room and an enormous, growling shape appeared in the doorway. I didn't know how the wooden hilt of my hunting knife had gotten into my hand. The first few moments were a blur of snarling of a gigantic beast with golden fur, the shrieking of my sisters, the blistering cold cascading into the room, and my father's terror-stricken face. Not a Martax, I realized, though the relief was short-lived. The beast had to be as large as a horse, and while his body was somewhat feline, his head was distinctly wolfish. I don't know what to make of the curled, elk-like horns that protruded from his head. But lion or hound or elk, there was no doubting the damage his black, dagger-like claws and yellow fangs could inflict. Somehow, I wound up in front of my sisters, even as the creature reared onto its hind legs and bellowed through a maw full of fangs, "Murderers!" But it was another word that echoed through me. Fairy.
We understand that this beast named Tamlin, we know that later. He is what can we say? He loves dramatics. Because you don't have to go that way. Like I would get it. We
He's
get it.
broody. He's broody for sure.
Yeah. Tamlin, he basically explains, well, he doesn't explain, I will say. He's more like, you have to do this because I say so, because I'm a fae and you don't know shit. The humans think the fairies, they can't lie. So this is a
Right.
crucial point in the book.
Mhm.
They think that fairies can't lie, and
Mhm.
everything that he says to Feyre automatically thinks is true. So when he says you have to come with me because there's a treaty that's the name, right?
Yeah. Yeah, your Venezuelans getting in the way of your English.
I know. He says to her, there is a treaty
You got
that
it.
says that if you thank you, that
You do
says
a
that
great
if
sweetie.
you like if you thank you. I know.
I'm
Um,
sorry.
there's a treaty that says that
If a human kills a fae unprovoked, then you're within the rights as a fae to kill that human, but there's no vice versa. So if a fae's just like, I feel like fucking up a human today, they just can.
they're fair babes. And to be honest with you, after reading this book and the whole series, I
I
don't
get
want
it.
to be human.
I don't want to be human either.
I want to be faced so bad.
That's fine.
And
That's
it's
why I'm
not
working
even,
out. I'm prepared.
heck yes, not even for the living forever, because really, I don't care about
Mhm.
that. It's just, they're so cool. And
Yeah.
I know that fays have mind blowing sex because they have so
And
many
they're all
abilities.
gorgeous. They're all gorgeous.
I mean, I'm sorry, but we are already. So
But I
I don't know what
mean,
you're talking
think
about.
about it. I mean, Feyre even describes her sisters as like super pretty humans,
Yeah.
and they're nothing in comparison to fairies.
The thing is that I think fairies, because they have magic, they're like these glowing, illuminating beings that you cannot
Yeah.
explain how they are so pure and beautiful. You know, it's
It's
like
like you can see their auras somehow.
exactly. So yeah, it's a life for life. And I think fairies don't have any consequences if they do something to humans because honestly, they have powers.
Yeah,
So
like what are
how
you gonna
can
do
you
about
like
it?
exactly how can you reprimand a fairy if you're human? Like you definitely cannot. So that makes
Yeah.
sense. But he tell her basically, you have to come with me. You are mine now. I own you. I
Mhm.
know that in other books we will be like, oh my god, he owns me, I guess. But this book was like, no,
Yeah.
no, like we don't know what was gonna happen.
Mhm.
So Reshea, what happens next?
Her family is just like, "Bye." Like, they
Yeah,
don't
that
try to
is interesting.
I will say the dad was like, "Money. I'll give you money. I can go get money. I can find money." And Tamlin just looks at him and is like, "Okay,
He
how much?"
laughs. I think he laughs.
He goes, "Okay, how much is your daughter's life worth to you?" And then his dad just, like, sat down, and I'm like, "Shit." Yeah, and then she's, like, getting ready when do I have to go? Right, meow. And then her dad just, like, looks at her and just like, "If you ever get out of there, don't come back." I'm like, I get it, like, you don't want her to come back, like, she's free at that point, but damn, dad.
But honestly, I know that everyone that has I know their opinions about this book. When they tell me about that part, they're always like, "Oh my god, that was such a sad part because he said that and whatever." I actually read it in a different way. For me, it was Farah, you deserve better.
Yeah.
Farah, do not come back. To me, he was saying, "I know I'm a piece of shit about that.
Mhm.
I do not deserve you as a daughter. I do not deserve you in my life. So
Mhm.
please, if you get out of here, do not come back because you are much more than this hole
Mhm.
that we live in.
Yeah.
You deserve better sisters. You deserve a better father. You deserve a better life." So to me, I was crying at that moment. I was like, oh my God, this
Yeah.
is so beautiful.
Yeah, I mean, I got what he was saying, but I was like, "Damn, dad, you couldn't have at least tacked on like an I love you?" Like it was
No.
just like, "Hey." And in that sentence he did say all those things and I felt it, but then I think it was kind of just like, "Oh, it was like, I'm not going to fight to get you back. I'm not going to try to save you or anything. I can't because I'm worthless and you deserve better." And I think all she really wanted was somebody to fight for her in that moment. And nobody did. And
I
they weren't capable of it. They couldn't. But I think she kind of wanted somebody to.
I understand that and I get it. And this is what I think. I don't think she wanted that.
No?
No,
You think she
really.
wanted out?
Most definitely. We learn
Yeah.
a little bit later that she made a promise to her mom.
Oh, yeah. I forgot about that
Basically,
part just
oh yeah.
momentarily.
So to me, it's interesting because her mom died. She was very young. I think she was
She
like
was
what
8.
8, and what we're talking about 8 years old. Okay, I
Mhm.
know it's like another world or another realm or other universe, but she was 8, and her mom basically tells her she's dying in her deathbed, and she's like,
Mhm.
Feyre, you have to take care of everyone because that's your job. Basically, I had you because you had to do that.
And that wasn't even, they weren't even poor yet.
No, they were not.
She didn't care about her as a child or as a person.
At all. We later know that Feyre's mom only loved basically Nesta-ish. I don't even want to call that love.
Oh, she just saw her. She was trying to mold Nesta into herself, into all the things that
Yeah.
she never got to be.
She saw all of her daughters as like real estate for husbands, basically, like
Yeah.
cows. They were cows to milk if, they found a really good husband. But these people in this story in ACOTAR, they don't have a religion. If you notice, they never mention religion. And to me, I feel like they just grasped to anything they can. And to me, Farah just took that promise as her religion. If she didn't have that responsibility of her family, why would she be doing, like, she was poor, she didn't have money for paint, like, you know what I mean? She took that responsibility to like her heart.
She said in the book that because the humans had abandoned the Fae's religion, and they're like, no, fuck that, all that Fae mythology. They said that their promise was their only currency. It was like the only thing that meant anything in their human world. And I don't know if it was true in all of human world, like on the main continent as well as Prythian, but I know at least like Prythian, like a promise is important and like it's like a huge, terrible thing to break a promise.
So now that you're saying Prythian, what is Prythian?
Oh, Prythian is the island that they live on. And there's a wall that separates like 7/8 above the wall. And like the tiniest sliver at the bottom is where the humans are allowed to live.
Tamlin takes Feyre, and for her, this is like, if I don't have my promise to my mom, that is my religion, what do I have? Like, what I am supposed to take care of these people because that's the only thing that I know. She was 8 years old. It makes sense that she feels that way and that she's constantly trying to escape Prythian so she can go to the human realm again, right? So, Reshea, Tamlin takes her. What happens?
The next 20 chapters, condensed form, Cliff Notes versions, ready. And the giant beast turns into a high fae. Apparently, he's a shapeshifter, and he's got a mask. Then he introduces us, or Sarah J. Maas introduces us to his bestie, Lucien. We love Lucien.
We love him.
Also wearing a mask. Feyre's like, wow, these fairies are really into masks. That's weird. And then she meets Alice, the handmaiden, also wearing a mask. And she's like,
everyone that she meets,
these are some weird
is wearing a mask.
Yeah, everyone has
everyone. And they're like very like party like, very like glowy, or it depends. Like they have like decorations and stuff.
Yeah. And so she's like, okay, it doesn't feel formal enough, but sure. And there's like hardly anybody else there. Exploring the castle, trying to figure out a way out. She's stupid and doesn't listen to Alice when she tells her not to trust her senses. So she thinks she sees her dad outside hobbling up like, "I come to get you, Feyre." And she's like, "Daddy, when would your dad come? Never." So she almost gets killed by a fairy right off the bat. Then she tries to ingratiate Lucien so that he'll tell her how to get out of this treaty, which there isn't a way to get out of the treaty. And he knows that, but he also hates Feyre and he kind of wants her to die accidentally, quote, 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 quote. So he tells her, without telling her, like, you should definitely not go get this surreal creature. Definitely don't do that. And he hands her a singular knife, okay, to get this lesser fae that's deadly, right? Feyre goes, sets a trap because she's a huntress. She can do it. Gets the surreal. And the surreal spills the tea that Tamlin is none other than a high fae.
What?
I'm sorry, a high lord. He's a high lord.
He's a high lord? Oh my god. He's rich.
Yeah, he's rich. He's got a giant mansion, and apparently that's not normal for Fae, I guess.
No,
Uh,
it's not.
so then we find out he is High Fae, or dang it, High Lord of the Spring Court. Goes to the Surreal. She finds out Tamlin's High Lord, and then she finds out that this blight that's been affecting all of the
Blight.
magic in Prythian, um, can only be helped by not her, basically. Nothing. She's got nothing. The Surreal's like, girl, you're human. Just stay with the High Lord. And she's just like, all right, I guess I gotta stay with the High Lord. That's like the
And that is
only
an important message.
that's important.
Stay with the High
Yeah.
Lord.
And then she goes through a series of meeting very dangerous and deadly fairies who want to kill everything. They're super dark and terrible, and they keep like breaking into the Spring Court's borders because of this blight on the magic. Tamlin saves her. And then he
They
goes
bond. They bond through that.
they bonded through him saving her. Like he heard her screaming when these four Naga, which are very scary. They remind me of like Dementors, if you could see a Dementor's face in Harry
But it's
Potter.
interesting because they say like the snake like
Oh,
and all
okay.
black, but then they're humanoids, but they're
Yeah.
not. They're very,
It's
very,
weird.
very terrifying.
Yeah. And so Tamlin saves her. And they both kill these Naga. Like a human, this human girl straight up kills like two of these creatures, and she
Yeah.
sets a Surreal free. And then
Nothing like
he
getting
goes,
together to bond, you know.
oh yeah, trauma bonding at its finest.
Oh baby, that's great.
And then he's gone for like a couple days, and Feyre is finding herself like, oh, why do I care if he comes back or not?
Why am I missing this man?
And she's like trying to sneak around the castle and like make her little I can't read map of the castle. And it's the middle of the night, and he just bursts through the door kind of, and he's bleeding. And she's like, don't worry, baby, I got you. Where's your nurse's station? I'll play nurse for you. And then she takes him to the nurse's station.
And she does.
I'm editorializing a little. And she patches him up, and he's like, gee, thanks. And then the blue fairy ends up on their grounds the next night. And that was the saddest scene I've ever seen. I've ever read in my
I
whole life.
cried
Like
so
a
hard.
baby when that blue fairy showed up, and Tamlin did the prayer as he was going, and Feyre said the first promise she ever broke was telling him that she promised that where he was going he would get his wings back.
Yeah.
And she's okay.
It's so fucking sad.
God damn it. Oh god. I'm gonna cry again.
No, it's so sad. Like that part, that scene, it's tattooed in my brain because it was so beautiful. I read it 3
Yeah.
times and I cried every time. It was so beautiful.
Yeah, and I think that was the first time we see that Tamlin is a good guy, and he
He
has
is.
a kind heart, because he, the High Lord of the Spring Court, basically president or king or whatever, it is a monarchy type style thing.
It is.
He carries the body of this dead fairy, a lesser fairy, not even a high fae, which usually high fae we glean are a bit racist against lesser fae. He carries this dead lesser fairy out, and he digs a grave himself and buries this fairy, and like gives him a proper burial and returns him to the earth. And it's like the first time you see like, oh, he's not just a shitty monarch type dude who thinks that he's entitled to everything. He's got a good heart. Then a whole bunch of other boring stuff happens. Tamlin takes Feyre to a lake that's made of starlight.
I'm sorry, but that wasn't boring. That was freaking cool. And they bonded, and there was a little bit of a slow burn there, and that was cute.
There was a slow burn. The pool of starlight is cool. My only problem with that whole scene was, why the fuck was Lucien there? Like, why the fuck was Lucien there? Lucien, you cock block. Stop it. Go the fuck away. Like, become a threesome thing? That would have been hot.
Stop. The thoughts that I had, like I knew I
Mhm.
was very, very, I have a dirty mind, because the only thing I was thinking was, if this book like turns into a white shoes type of thing, I will be so happy.
If this becomes, and I'm gonna quote something here that you're gonna get. If this becomes a fairy sandwich and she's the ham in the middle, I'd be so happy.
We're gonna be talking about that in season 2, so do not
Anyway,
be
you guys got to just listen for a whole other season to get what that little joke was.
And you're gonna love it.
But yeah, so they start bonding, right? And then Calanmai happens. Explain Calanmai, or explain what they tell Feyre Calanmai is.
So basically, Calanmai, it's this ceremony or like festival or like day that they give back to the magic, so the magic can get stronger and better. And people drink, people dance, we have music. It's like a whole, let's say like it's a rave-ish type of thing. It's a rave.
Bonfires everywhere.
Yeah, it's a rave in a very magical Fae way. And we love that. I would definitely pay to go to Calanmai because damn, that sounds really good.
We're 100%
But
going.
we're in Calamine, and basically we didn't know at the beginning, but then Farah Darlin, I forgot about that. Farah Darlin learns that the way the fairies give magic or get the magic from Earth or the cauldron or whatever.
Give it to Earth.
Yeah, something like that. The way they give it to Earth or the Earth give it to them or they make it stronger. I don't remember what it was exactly. The way Tamlin's cord contributes to that, it's Tamlin fucking wildly with someone.
Salmon fucking period.
Yeah.
Basically, I just imagine
someone.
I just like imagine like it like bursting out of his chest as he orgasms. But I do know enough about magic and witchcraft to know that sex magic is strong and not to be fucked with. Do not take that shit lightly. You tell me how Feyre, like what they told Feyre about Calanmai. She sees the bonfires and she's like, hey, what the fuck's going on? What did they tell her? Nothing. They're just like, hey, yeah, don't worry about that. It's like a party, but you're not invited.
Yeah, basically, Farah, she, as we know, Farah is a very curious person. Like, she wants to know. She needs to know the things. She likes answers, and we get it. We're women. We are cats. We love that. And if you want to know something and nobody's telling you, what would you do?
I'm just going to go figure it out for myself.
Exactly. And that's what Miss Manfera did.
Absolutely.
And what happened?
She almost got killed. She almost died by 3
or graped.
3, yeah.
Or
she
graped.
Was yeah, definitely was at least that because it's a sex magic party and she didn't know that. And these fairies were like, oh, fun little human girl.
So basically everyone that goes to Calanmai, it's ready to have sex.
Oh yeah, like, and then the second the High Lord's done, they're like, orgy time, baby.
Orgies. We want to go to Calanmai or what?
Yeah, I know that they've got Starfall balls planned. I guarantee you they have a Calanmai ball planned. I'll bet you it's on FetLife.
Do you think they charge extra for that?
Just the cleaning fee.
Farah being Farah, curious, and she's
feeling
herself.
The pull of the drums.
Farah gets out. She gets to the festival and she sees a cave and then she gets in.
She couldn't see them very well. They were all fuzzy because of the glamour that Tamlin put on her.
Yeah.
Which we find out later, he glamored her to not be able to see most of the people in the court. And when he took the glamour off of her, she realized there were just a shit ton of people around all the time. I don't know about you, but I do some weird shit when I think I'm alone.
Dude, have you thought about like she was farting, she was like picking up her bugs, like stuff like that, and everybody was watching her.
Oh, do you know when I'm alone? Do you know how much I sing? Do you know how badly I sing? At full volume. Like, he probably masturbated in the hallway once.
Farah is horny, we get it, and she definitely, and people saw
staring at the painting. She's like, "It's such a good picture."
Oh my god. Oh my god. Oh my god. Oh my god.
My mom can
I'm
never listen to this episode.
I'm totally not blushing right now. Yeah, she sees like 4 fays and they're like bothering her, like, oh my god, you're human, or who you are here with. And then Reshea, what happens?
Staggered, falling out of their grasp. The ground welled up beneath me, and I reached for my knives, but sturdy hands grasped me under the shoulders before I could draw them or hit the grass. They were strong hands, warm and broad, not at all like the prodding, bony fingers of the 3 fairies who went utterly still as whoever caught me gently set me upright. There you are. I've been looking for you, said a deep, sensual male voice I'd never heard. But I kept my eyes on the 3 fairies, bracing myself for flight as the male behind me stepped to my side and slipped a casual arm around my shoulders. The 3 lesser fairies paled, their dark eyes wide. Thank you for finding her for me, my savior said to them, smooth and polished. Enjoy the rite. There was enough of a bite beneath his last words that the fairies stiffened. Without further comment, they scuttled back to the bonfires. I stepped out of the shelter of my savior's arms and turned to thank him. Standing before me was the most beautiful man I'd ever seen. Oh my God.
Yes. Oh my god.
I started reading that. Goosebumps.
We cannot say much.
So basically, he's an insignificant character and we never hear from him again.
Ever again. Ever. So we had that encounter.
Yeah, and she's surprisingly like not scared. She's like, I should be scared of this
No.
dude. Because those scary dudes just ran away. And he doesn't do anything. He's just like, peace out. She realizes he doesn't have a mask on. So
No,
he's
he does not.
Supreme Court.
And we learn that he has violet eyes.
Violet eyes. Ugh.
Yes.
Though I will say the second
And
time I read it, he has knee-high boots on over his pants, and I don't know how I feel about it.
I seen the pictures. He
Mhm.
looks fantastic.
I'm sure, but all I can think of is somebody who's like at one of those fancy pony competitions. Like an equestrian.
Stop! You're ruining it for
I'm
me. You're ruining it.
sorry. It's like equestrian, like riding pants.
I know.
It didn't do it for me. The outfit, the
Okay.
fashion didn't do it for me there.
Right now, I'm thinking of the picture that I saw, and I'm only that.
Yeah, keep
He
it.
looks
That's
great.
fine. So Feyre realizes that this man is dangerous, somebody she should probably be scared of, right? And
Yeah, she should be scared of
Yeah.
this very mysterious violet eye man, but she's not.
with knee-high boots on.
Stop.
I'm so sorry. And so he leads her back to where there's like other people. So she's safe in a crowd of fairies who want to kill her, I guess. And he
And she
disappears.
cannot see very well because she has a glamour.
Yeah. And who stumbles upon her but Lucien? And he's like, you dumb bitch.
Yeah. He's
Oh.
like, what are you doing here? He cannot see you. He, meaning Tamlin, he
Yeah.
cannot see you. I have a cat. She's making her
Hello.
presence right now.
I said hello, Lucien. Tell her I
She
said
doesn't care. Lucien tells Feyre that he, Tamlin, cannot see her. Like,
Yeah.
he cannot
Yeah.
see her, nor smell her, nor anything.
He like fireman carries her. He like throws her over his shoulder like a sack of potatoes and then runs at like superhuman speed through the forest.
Like Edward Cullen type of running,
Yeah, but
there's-
sexier.
yeah, of course it's Lucien. Hello. And
Also,
then
I'm pretty sure she had a horse on her way there, so I don't know what happened to the horse.
he is joining on the with the orgy after
Oh my God.
Lucien gets there, and he's like, "You dumbass bitch, stay
Mhm.
here. Do not go out. He cannot see you, And then he explains what actually Calanmai is.
Mm-hmm.
And she gets this feeling of, I get that he has to do that, but she feels some type of way that he has to be with other women, basically.
Yeah, she was like, why am I jealous right now? And then
Yeah.
he puts her in her room and everything would have been fine. Let me say this. It is not Feyre's fault what happens next. I'm clapping my hands for emphasis. It's not her
Uh-huh.
fault. Nobody fed her dinner, okay? They
I
all
mean,
just
she left.
they were all gone. The whole staff, everybody was gone at Calanmai and she's just in the castle
Mhm.
by herself.
You're right.
Nobody fed her dinner. And she's like,
Mhm.
it's like what, 1, 2 in the morning? She's like, damn, I'm hungry. I'm gonna go get me a cookie.
And she tries.
She gets the cookie.
She
I
gets
think
it?
she probably it was on the way back from the kitchen.
Oh, so she gets
Tamlin
some type of food.
burst through the door.
Again, because he loves dramatics. We
He
told
he
you already.
loves a torn away door jam.
He will be a very good reality TV show personality. Like, he will be so good. Okay,
Absolutely.
so Tamlin does that, and what happens?
Um he gives her a hickey.
Okay, I know it sounds silly because this podcast is about smut and sex and whatever. It sounds silly, but at the
It was
moment,
the
I
hottest thing
was.
I'd ever read. I called my best friend Corinne and I was like, "Are you busy right now?" She's like, "I'm kind of." I said, "Shut up, I'm reading this scene to you." She's like, "Okay."
So that chapter is chapter 21,
Yeah.
meaning we've been reading 21 chapters without much of a sexy tone, I can say.
There was none except for when he like took the thorns off of a rose and put it behind her
Yeah.
ear.
Yeah. Besides that, it was a very slow burn, like really slow.
It was very
And then we
YA.
get, yeah, and yes, and then we get to this part when he basically bites her shoulder, and she
To
gets a
hold her
hickey.
in place, to hold her in place. And he says, when I couldn't smell you, it made me choose another. She wanted it rough and fast, but I would have taken my time with you. He was like, I wouldn't have gone fast. I would have taken my time. And I'm like, oh, I'm sorry. What?
The way, of course, so you've been reading 21 chapters and
Uh-huh.
you're waiting for it and you're waiting for it and you're waiting for it. And then Sajay Mas gives you this and you're like, oh my God.
She's edging you.
Yeah, she
100%.
was definitely. But we loved it. And to be honest, I don't know if you guys watch Korean dramas, you know that they're always like very fade to black.
Drama.
My whole life, yeah. And then they're always like kisses, and the kisses are very very scarce, and like you almost don't see much of a physical affection happening. Like they don't touch each other, they don't kiss a lot, and when they do, we get so excited. I had the same feeling with this book.
Yeah.
Like every time they were doing something, I was like, happening. You know, the office that they gave to says, "Oh my God, it's happening! It's happening!" I felt that way
Fire alarm.
every
It's happening.
time.
Yeah.
Every time.
I will
So
say her build up to this point was amazing.
top notch, top
Because
notch.
after reading the whole series, I'm like, that's it. But when I first read it, I was like, hot damn, I haven't felt alive until this moment in my
It
whole
was
life.
just a hickey, okay? A hickey, that's it.
Yeah.
And a little
And then,
bite. Like,
and then just like the promise of his prowess in bed. Just,
yeah.
and I would have taken a very long time. Like, oh, okay, bet.
And we know that
Prove it.
Farah was very harassed, like
Oh, yeah.
extremely.
Feyre had to go back to the kitchen to grab a mop afterwards.
Farah stays there, like, okay, that happened. And he goes back to the party.
Oh my God, did he go back to the party? Oh yeah, because
To
they
the
were all
party.
hungover the next day at like lunchtime.
He goes back to the party to keep, banging people.
Oh yeah.
And if you're watching my cat's butt right now, that's free, so I don't apologize.
After this, Feyre's like, game on, bitch. And so she starts wearing dresses and she shows off her hickey so that it's real awkward.
Yeah, that is the next morning, and they have this
awkward.
conversation. Yeah.
And then she goes, I've got something for you I'd like to show you, please, if you don't mind. And she leads him to the gallery where she's been slaving away painting.
And I think this is a very well, before we didn't tell you, but before we have this moment, like Beauty and the Beast moment, where he's like, okay, this is like the library-ish, like the gallery, but it's like a library-ish, we can say that.
The library was where she was gonna teach herself to read.
Yes, basically. But and that library has like the whole Prithian story and how everything was developed and all of that, right?
Yeah, and it was great for her because it was depicted in pictures, like an IKEA assembly package.
And because Miss Manfera, she cannot read, makes sense.
Convenient.
So we love that. Yeah, it was very convenient. And she's there, she's watching the whole thing, and I love that because we know that ACOTAR is a Beauty and the Beast retelling from Sarah J. Maas' perspective and like her idea of it. And I think that part was my brain was like, oh, click, this is a Beauty and the Beast moment. Like he, showing her the library and stuff like that. Yeah, exactly. It was really nice.
And then after that, she had asked, he's like, what do you want to do with your life? And she's like, I want to paint. And so he like gets her all these painting supplies. And apparently there's no better way into Feyre's pants than giving her paint. And so she leads him to this gallery of paintings, and she's got like all of them like kind of leaned up against the wall and everything. She didn't turn them around so nobody could see them. They were like, you could see them, they were just on the floor. And then she had one on an easel in the middle, and she was like, I painted this for you, Tamlin. And it's like some weird abstract version. I drew it for you actually. Of the Star Lake, the Starlight
If
Lake.
If you're not watching this video, please go watch it. Tell us, what is this? Oh my god, I love his abs. Oh my god.
Thank you. Do you like his mask? So this
definitely
is
not,
Tamlin.
but it's cute.
This is Tamlin. He's very tall.
Oh my god, the arms, the claws. Oh my god. Okay.
And that's the Star Lake, and that's the sun, and that's Feyre. And then it says F plus T equals heart. And this is what I imagine Feyre's drawing skills are at.
We love it. That was very cute.
So she's like,
that was very cute.
And Tamlin's like, wow, you drew that. And then he just starts looking at all the other paintings. And he goes,
this is when we start realizing that Feyre is not a good painter.
Now, I didn't initially take it that way. I think Tamlin's, and this is because I am very familiar with the cis het white male and their inability to express emotions at all.
Tamlin is not the guy.
No, praise kink? No, not for you. Tamlin is not for you.
He is not the guy for you because he will not tell you how beautiful you are or how amazing you are or how a good girl you are, and that is not nice. Because I think Feyre will have it because she has a lot of like inner child problems.
Yeah, she needs that. But yeah, so like I think he was just taken aback that somebody would like make something for him. But after I heard the take that like, that he never said it was good, I was like, damn. So then he's like walking around. It did get me though. He picked out a different painting and he goes, this was the brown sticks, just brown lines on a white bottom. And he was like, this is the forest where you hunted. And she's like, yeah, you can tell. And he goes, I'll take this one. And she's like, but I just made he's like, it reminds me that I'm not alone. And it's his broody Edward moment. And she's just like,
we understand that she painted, she literally took like a month, let's say, whatever, to paint that thing, and she gave it to him, and he's like, I want the other one.
Yeah, he's
And
like, this one will go better in my office. I don't know.
and through all of this, we never heard that he says, these are beautiful, you are great, you
Yeah.
are an amazing artist, because Feyre, it's mother effing not
She
good at
can't be
painting.
good at it. And maybe she
I
gets
mean,
better, but I mean, like, and they have this like hot moment, which was another super hot, slow burn edging moment where it's spring equinox. Tamlin is playing a violin, dude. He's fiddling away. He's giving like Jack Dawson from not Dawson, Dawson from Titanic in like in
Yep.
the bottom like
Yep.
of the dance. Like that's just what he was giving. And then she gets drunk on fairy wine, and then he takes her to go watch the Will o' the Wisps, and then they totally make out. So then the next morning they're chilling out and relaxing all cool, eating lunch. And who shows up but the most beautiful man in the world? He's like,
Yeah.
"Hey, did you get my present the other day?" And they're like, "Yeah, we got the severed head that you put on top of our statue in our water fountain. Thanks." And he's like, "You're welcome." And Feyre's like, "Oh,
By
this
the way,
is
when that happened, Feyre gets this idea that this guy, the same guy that she met at Calanmai,
Mhm,
because Tamlin says that that was his like humor and stuff, and
mhm.
that's
Oh
what
yeah,
he
he's
does.
funny.
She's like, he's insane. He's a psychopath. He's
Yeah.
crazy.
And
I don't
she
want
didn't know
anything
it
to do
was
with him.
she didn't know it was the same guy.
Yeah.
She didn't know that this was the night court, as Tamlin explained. Oh, this is the
Mhm.
night court, and blah blah blah. He's just a
High
sadistic
Lord,
piece of
High
shit,
Lord.
the High Lord, and he's a sadistic piece of shit. And she
Yeah.
didn't know that it was the same dude as the violet eye man, right?
That
Mr.
saves her
Purple
in
Eye.
Calanmai.
Yeah. And then she puts two and two together when he was like, "You like my present?" And she's like, "Oh shit." And then
Yeah.
I guess they just forgot that there were three plates on the table, and Reese, we learned his name, Resand,
Reason. But
whatever
wait, wait,
that
wait,
guy.
wait. They basically they didn't want Reason to know who Farah was.
Yeah,
They
they didn't want
basically
her to know that she
glamour
was
the whole
there.
thing.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
yeah, they had like Lucien pinning her against the window to like meld her into him with magic or whatever, so that he couldn't scent her. And
Nor see her nor anything.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
She wasn't there.
yeah. And then, but then when Reese saw the third plate, he was like,
You think I'm dumb?
like he was like, "Show her to me." He got a little like wigged out for a second, and then he
Yeah.
just went for it, and he made Tamlin beg. Like Tamlin knows something that Feyre doesn't know, and it's that
I know something you don't.
it's that Reese could go back to the Blight.
Mm-hmm.
Amaranth, because he's Amarantha's whore. We find out in this chapter, in this little scene, and she's like, "Who the fuck's Amarantha?" He doesn't want
Mm-hmm.
Amarantha to know that Feyre exists, and so he's
Yeah.
begging, "Don't tell Amarantha about Feyre." And then
Yeah.
he walks over to Feyre, and he takes a mental claw and scrapes just the front of her brain, and he was like, "Forgot how easy it is to break a human mind."
A mental claw, meaning nothing was physical. Everything, he has this power that he can go into your mind and
Mhm.
do whatever he wants. He can destroy you forever if he wants. And he can do whatever he wants to your memories. He can do whatever he wants with like your actions. If he wants you to do something, you're going to do that he wants.
Yeah.
So in this case, everything was mental. Nothing was physical.
Yeah, and he totally could have just broke her right then and there, and he teased
Yes.
her, right?
Yeah.
And he's just like, "Give me a name, bitch." And the first name she comes up with is some friend of her
Some
sister's that
chick from, yeah,
yeah, some friend of her sister's
from the
named Claire.
neighborhood.
Yeah, Claire Better.
Claire. I think it
And
was Claire. Yeah.
yeah, Claire Better. And Reese is like, "Cool beans." And then he leaves. And Tamlin's like, "All right, you gots to go. It's not safe for you anymore."
He's
Well,
like, Farah, this is beautiful. I get it. We are like connecting. I see it, but you cannot stay here because you will die.
yeah. Oh, but before that, after Reese leaves, Lucien and Feyre skedaddle, and then Tamlin explodes the dining room.
Oh, yeah.
We're
Daddy,
seeing a
no,
pattern
ew, I
here.
was going to say Daddy Tamlin. That was weird.
No.
Mr. Tamlin.
He's developing a pattern.
So Mr. Tamlin is developing patterns because through the book, we see that he has very low EQ.
Mm-hmm.
And through this, we understand and we see that he loves a fit, to throw a fit. He just loves tantrums.
Mm-hmm.
For him, he's a literal 6-year-old.
Oh yeah,
in a whole high lore body form.
Yeah, he's just starting to understand emotional regulation, but hasn't quite gotten there yet. And that's like
Yes.
where a child of 5 or 6 is, literally.
Yes. He doesn't understand a no. He doesn't understand that he cannot manipulate or like control everything.
Mhm.
So his way to manage emotions is just throwing fits.
Yeah.
He loves it.
Spiciness of the writing. It just gets me really excited to read more about their love story, Feyre and Tamlin. I really want to know like how their sex develops. I really like the author's writing. I think it's like giving you I literally felt edged throughout the entire book.
And so Feyre just like goes to her room and is just like, guess I'm not eating dinner. And then she's just in bed. She's like, that's fine. I was starving for years. It'll be good. I can miss a meal. And then she's laying in bed and Tamlin comes in, tells her she's leaving. And then he fucks her.
It's happening. It's finally happening.
Were you as disappointed as I was when you read that scene?
Look. I have so many years of experience of reading smut that the build up to this moment was great. We had the hickey moment. We had the making out after. Yeah, we had the making out after the other party. We had the lake. We had all of that, right? I was just disappointed to see how they did it.
Yeah,
what he did, what she did. It was just plain as vanilla.
Yeah,
you know what it
was? It was the sex that you have with your husband of 4 years after he's gotten back from a business trip. So like a little bit of buildup. You like really want each other, but also it's kind of the same sex that you've had every other Thursday for the last 4 years.
I will describe it as either your first or second time having sex.
It could be that too, yeah, for sure. I guess mine was just a bit more traumatic of a first or second time, so
I can see it. I don't want to say anything, but yeah, we'll see it. We'll see it, Reshea. We'll see it.
I'm like, oh yeah, I guess maybe it should have been like that. It was like anticlimactic. I mean, I know they both came, but like it was just like, I don't know, this is a fantasy novel. I thought it was going to be longer.
For me, it was just, look, Tamlin is like 500 plus years old. You know sex, Tamlin.
You know,
I will hope you know sex.
Do you know what I just realized?
What?
He is the jock that was always attractive, that didn't have to work hard to get a girlfriend and never learned how to pleasure a woman. He's okay.
He's a high lower babes. He doesn't do shit.
Yeah, like, and he's okay because he's a fairy and she's a human, and of course, fairy sex is going to feel amazing. But I guarantee you it's pretty average to a fae female because he's never had to work for it. What you want is a guy who was like made fun of for being like overweight or having a gap tooth or, you know, wasn't really cute or in school, and then had to rely on his humor, his personality, and his oral skills to keep a girlfriend. And then that's when you have the good sex. They can get hot later. That's fine. They can have a glow up, but they gotta be a little on the ugly side when they're younger.
Look, Tamlin is just I like Tamlin. I really do. Like, I get him. I really do. He's like cute and whatever. And I don't want to be a bitch, but Tamlin is just not it.
The problem that I have with him is that he just doesn't try to get better.
We're talking about sex and
Mhm.
other stuff, but like sex specifically, you are a magic being. You could have done so much more, babes. You could have rocked her world and be like, after me, nothing and no one can compare. And you did not, motherfucker.
This man is a shapeshifter. We find out later
I know.
that he's the one who turned Andres into a wolf.
Yeah.
He couldn't have just like something on his dick,
Or like,
made it vibrate.
I don't know. If you have read Ice Planet Barbarians, you know that they have a spur. Like, couldn't
Ooh.
you just do that? You know, like, hello.
Like, come on, just do something. All right.
Babes, you're magic. No,
I
no, no.
realized why it was disappointing.
Why?
Because I was reading a fantasy novel with Fae, and I read a human sex scene with just humans. I have had that sex.
You
before.
nailed it. You nailed it.
I've had
You
that sex before.
literally nailed
And
it.
it's not bad sex. It's not.
No,
But
it's not. It's just
I'm reading a
average.
fantasy novel. I want to read fantasy sex too. I don't want to read human sex.
Totally.
Sorry.
Totally. That
What it
was
is.
average human sex. And as you already know, we don't want to be human. We read because we want to escape. We want to be phased. We want to be, what was her name? Georgie on Ice Planet Barbarians with Bectal. You know, we want to be like that. We don't want to
Yeah.
be this.
Yeah.
So I totally get it.
Basically, he fucks her and she's like, that's amazing. And then
Yeah. Okay,
he's-
fair.
she's
Okay,
like,
fair.
"Wait."
I mean,
And well, and then he goes,
no, but wait.
what?
Like,
Fine.
let's be honest. Tamlin is probably better in bed than Isaac.
Well, yeah, because he's not malnourished.
and I mean, and Tamlin is a whole ass man, like
Mhm.
with a whole ass body and abs and stuff. Like, and visually, you know, we're very visual. So
We are
Tamlin
very
is like, oh my god, he's a god. So yeah.
And she was on a bed and not on a pile of hay.
You're totally right. You're totally right. You're totally right. Yeah.
There's a lot to say about comfort, okay? It's
Yeah.
like trying to have sex in the bed of a truck. Not great.
Or like in a position where
Hypothetically,
you
I
get
would
like
never know.
cramps, you know, when you get like a cramp and you're like, I want to be wet, but I cannot because I cannot concentrate.
Yeah, because my hip
Yeah.
is just seizing up right now. God, I just sounded 87. Yeah. So the thing that pissed me off even more is he's laying there and he says to her as if before this, she's like, all right, how long do I have? And he's like, you're leaving in the morning.
Yeah.
And
Like
so
that, just like that.
up late. You kept her up late so you could get your dick wet. And then you're like, and you got to be up early. Excuse me. I better be able to sleep in and have breakfast brought to me in bed after I have sex with you for the first time. And if it's not
Yep.
that, I don't want it. And now you're telling me I have to leave your house early? This sounds like fuckboy behavior. Like, now I got what I
It
wanted
is.
and you have to go. And then he just, as she's falling asleep, he whispers, I love you. And then she just falls into sleep. She doesn't say it back. She falls asleep.
Yeah,
Next
she
morning,
does not say it back.
no. And then the next morning, they dress her up like Mary Poppins.
The way I hated that, I cannot look. Sex was average. You know what, Sergey Maas? We get it.
It was
We
supposed
get
to be. It was supposed to be.
It was supposed to be. We understand for the other books. We understand. We get it.
Mhm.
Why do you have to do that to me? I'm a fashion person. Why do you have to dress this woman like that?
It was
Like-
100% this Mary Poppins outfit. The one with the penguins dancing, like in the chalk painting. That one.
Like, babes.
And then he has the audacity. First of all, Lucien has the audacity to be like, I thought you were smarter than that. Okay, fuck you. You didn't tell me shit. She gets on the carriage. Lucien just yells, I love you again. Like, dude, can you like take her in your arms and give her a kiss and be like, before I go.
You mean Tamlin?
What did I say, Lucien?
Yeah.
I wanted it to be Lucien.
I
Yeah.
know. We know.
So there should have been a scene that was like, I swept her, like he swept me into his arms and he grabbed me by the face, and
Yeah.
kissed me deeply and looked me in the if there's one thing you need to know, and if I never see you again, I need you to know that my heart yearns for you. I love you.
Yeah, I
You
will
want to
give
make
my
a
life for you. I will burn the world for you,
yeah,
and you need to know this because if not, I cannot live without telling you this. And she will be like,
yeah,
"Oh, I love
yeah,
you. I
yeah.
love you."
Exactly. You want a bitch to fall in love with you, you have to use your words, Tamlin. We are not
Yeah,
6-year-old.
babes.
This I say this to my 6-year-old son. Use your words. Use your words. It's not that hard. Anyway, so
Yeah.
then he puts her on this
You want
character,
me to paint it for you, Tamlin? Because
right?
damn, babes.
I know. And then they magic her asleep because this whole book is just a study in let's not tell Feyre anything.
Yeah.
So she doesn't know how to get there. She doesn't know how to get
No.
back.
No.
She doesn't know about what this blight is. She doesn't
No.
know what the surreal meant about the High Lord and about some random king of Hybern in some distant country. All this stuff means nothing to her because
Yep.
nobody will tell her shit. And
Yep.
then she gets home, and Tamlin didn't even tell her how he had been taking care of her sisters and her dad. They're
She
fucking
has
rich.
no idea that they are rich, like
Rich.
really wow rich.
Like crazy rich Asians rich.
Yeah, uh-huh.
That rich. Like very so rich.
And then she's like, okay, so I have an aunt that nobody knew about, and she gave me all her money, and now I'm rich too, and we all rich, and I'm richer than everybody, and then I have all this money, but I don't want to be here. I want to be with freaking Tamlin and his average sex.
Well, to her, it was
I know.
better than
I know.
average.
Whatever, Farah, whatever.
Her standards were low, okay? We can't blame a girl.
Yeah, whatever. And
Yeah.
his 6-year-old EQ. But yeah, whatever.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's where we're leaving off right now is she's back in the human world. And this is where I wanted to
Yeah.
stop reading. It was only 2 chapters in the human world, I think. I wanted to
Yeah.
rip my eyeballs out.
Yeah, this is where everything gets interesting, babes. Now
Mhm.
we're getting into the hot sauce.
The hot sauce.
Yeah.
All right, so I have a couple questions for you. I want to know what made you pick up this book in the first place?
It was Booktok. I'm not gonna
Mm.
lie to you. It was Booktok. And I was like, wait, Farah? Or at the moment I say, because I read it in Spanish, so it was Feyre, Feyre
Mhm. Mhm.
to me, because I read it as I was,
Yeah.
as it is written in Spanish. And I was like, wait, I know this girl. Hype on TikTok was like super high.
Yeah.
And I did it, and I became obsessed.
Mhm.
Obsessed. And I read all of them in 5 days.
And all right, so if you had to pick a favorite character so far that is
From
not
the
from
okay,
the first half of the first 2/3 of the book, and it can't be Feyre or Tamlin.
my favorite character has to be, and I say this with my whole heart out,
Mhm.
the bug.
Oh, the bog.
You know why? When Sarah J. Maas describes the bug, I
Mhm.
always think of it like fear itself,
Mhm. Yeah.
because it doesn't have any form.
Yeah.
You cannot breathe around it. It's just like fascinating. That is actual terror. That is actual fear. That is what like thriller movies are supposed to feel like.
Yeah.
It's not visual. For me, fear is not visual. For me, fear is something that you cannot see. You
Mhm.
cannot describe it. And
Yeah.
when I I'm so sad that we didn't have more of it in the other books. To
Mhm.
me, the bug
The
is just the most fascinating creature in like the bad quote unquote creatures of the book.
yeah.
I will have to say that's my favorite, because you don't see it, you don't smell it, you don't know anything, you just feel it, and you automatically just want to die because it's so terrifying.
Yeah.
That is fear, and I
Yeah.
love it. What about you?
Um I wanted to say the surreal, but I think I didn't fall in love with the surreal until the second book,
Same,
okay?
same,
Um
same, same, same.
I'm thinking my favorite like lesser character was 100% that mercenary in the market.
I knew I knew you were going to say her. That's why I
knew-
didn't pick her.
Oh, thank you. You're so nice. I'm
I know.
trying to think, like, there's not really anybody else that I loved that much as that character, because Sarah J. Maas kept this circle of characters so small at the beginning.
Very small. And I love it.
Yeah.
Because I needed that to actually understand how the world was built.
You know what? No, I also really like Alice. I love her because
Yeah.
she's a no nonsense. She's just like,
Yeah.
had it with your shit.
So today, season 1, episode 1, we talked about ACOTAR from chapter 1 through 28.
Mhm.
Next episode is gonna be 29 to the end. So if you
Mhm.
haven't read those, please go ahead and keep up, babes, because we're going to spoil you.
Yeah, and honestly, we're gonna cover some stuff that we're gonna want to talk about, but our overview is kind of like when they take a book and make it a movie. We're leaving stuff out. So
Yes.
don't get your hopes up.
And
So,
remember, this podcast is about opinions and POVs and what we think and sex. Mostly sex. So that's
yeah,
it.
just wishing we could have fairy sex all of the time.
Oh my God. Not
Or
Tamlin,
not
so.
Tamlin.
Okay. Okay, that was very clear. Again, I don't hate Tamlin. I actually have feelings for him in a very sisterly
I was about to say,
way.
he has a lot of growing to do. That's all.
Yeah. But we love Tamlin. Tin, tin, tin,
Listen,
tin.
next episode, we're going to be real mad at Tamlin for a while, okay? And it's going to stay that way.
You have to keep, listening. Few things before we finish this episode. We might have mentioned them or we might have not. I don't remember.
They allude to Rhysand being someone named Amarantha's whore. Was situation when a creature called the Adder arrives in the garden and tells Tamlin that time's almost up.
Yep.
Oh, and
For
Alice.
what, Tamlin? For what?
Yeah, and Alice isn't from the spring court. She's from the summer court, and she is taking care of her 2 nephews. And it's hard for Fae people to have babies. And Lucien left the autumn court, and his dad is the High Lord of the autumn court. Lucien left the High Court because he fell in love with a lesser Fae who lived in his court, and his dad was like, "You are the son of a High Lord. You can't be with her." And then he had her
How
killed.
dare you, Lucien?
Yeah, he had her killed, and he made Lucien watch. His 2 brothers held him down while he was forced to watch. The one thing we did forget that's kind of important, Fays sometimes get married, but other times they get mates.
Yes.
And I can't believe we didn't even talk about this. I've never been a fan of insta love at first sight, fated mates thing.
Yeah.
Where it's like, it's only you. Never been a fan of it. This I kind of loved because Tamlin explains to Feyre at one point that people can be mates but not be emotionally compatible. Like you're just their mate, and it's a strong, like, impossible to ignore bond, but that doesn't mean you guys are good for each other.
Let's put it in a toxic relationship way, basically. You can be loving someone and trying and giving everything, because when you have a bond with someone, when you're mated with someone, it's like you will burn the world for this person. Like
You're
you will do
possessive and
anything and
protective
everything.
of them.
Yes. Either women or men, it doesn't matter. You will go above and beyond for that person. So sometimes this connection, this feeling, this bond is very toxic, and it's not good for each other at all.
Yeah. And none of the Fae really understand it or why it happens or how your mate is chosen or anything like that. They're just like that. It just is. And not everybody gets a mate.
No.
Not everyone gets a mate.
But at this point, we understand that Tamlin and Feyre, they're not mates and they're not bonded.
Not yet, at least.
Not yet, exactly. Would they ever? We don't know. We'll see. We have to discover that.
Guess you have to listen to our second episode too.
Heck yes.
So mates are not a given. They're not a for sure thing, but when they snap into place, they are impossible to ignore, and you have an irreversible pull to them.
Yeah.
And then apparently, if that bond is accepted, the sex is mind blowing.
We're telling you, investing time in reading these books, it's really good for you. We're not exaggerating. Like, you're gonna feel powerful after reading them.
Yeah, there's a TikToker that made a video I love. It's like, why haven't you read the book that I suggested to you? It's been 3 days. What do you just not? Why do you feel like you don't deserve to do things that bring you joy, that you love? Huh? Read the book.
Mother effing read the book. So yes, babes, that was season 1, episode 1.
As always, we love to hang out with you. You're our besties, and we're your besties now. So be sure to follow us on TikTok at Come With Us Pod, on Instagram at Come With Us Pod. And if you have a fun hot take that you think that we would love to read, I'm going to need you to put that in an email and send it to us at comewithUspodofficial@gmail.com. And if you're lucky, we may read it in our next episode.
Maybe, maybe not. Maybe we will. You have to find out.
If
you have to listen to find out.
If you tease us just right.
Heck yes.
I'm on Instagram at Reshea_reads and on TikTok at CharlotteRivers4. And Susie?
You have to follow me. Look at this. At I'm Susie Nunez on Instagram, at I'm Susie Nunez 1111 on TikTok. That's it. Thank you for coming with us this week. Remember that getting off is very important, so get off with us.
Time for us to get off this podcast.
Heck yes. See you next week.
Bye.
Bye, babes. See ya.
Love you, boo boo.